All right, we're recording, and let me share I'll share my screen in a sec. Let's start off with a spiritual thought, and then can I get a volunteer for the opening prayer? Share, that'd be awesome. Thank you. All right, our spiritual thought today. Oh man, did I close it? Of course I closed it. Hang on 1 second. Well, I just reopened like 50 tabs and none of them were the right one. Okay, well, I guess you guys get a different spiritual thought today. So Elder Neil A. Maxwell said this: what we insistently desire over time is what we will eventually become and what we will receive in eternity. To go along with this, in 1 Nephi chapter 10, verse 17, we read, "And it came to pass after I, Nephi, having heard all the words of my father concerning the things which he saw in a vision, and also the things which he spake by the power of the Holy Ghost, which power he received by faith on the Son of God, and the Son of God was the Messiah who should come, I, Nephi, was desirous also that I might see and hear and know of these things by the power of the Holy Ghost, which is the gift of God unto all those who diligently seek him, as well in times of old as in the time that he should manifest himself unto the children of men." So the thought that I wanted to share with you guys was from a talk by Elder Maxwell when he was talking about the desires of our hearts and how basically those desires of our hearts are going to take us somewhere. And he said that life will be joyous if the desires of our hearts are basically what they should be. And reading the scripture in 1 Nephi chapter 10, verse 17, when Nephi was like, I was desirous that I might see and hear and know. I was just reminded at how important it is that we actually have righteous desires, you know, and we could evaluate our desires just by what we choose to do. You know, I like to tell myself that I don't have very much free time. And then I look at how I spend my free time and I'm like, wow, are my desires like really in the right place? I mean, the Mandalorian's important, you know, but there are definitely more important things, you know, and I'm not dogging on good media. I think it's important. I think it has its place. And my wife and I enjoy that. We enjoy board games too, you know, but in those moments when I'm alone, you know, do I choose to read my scriptures or do I hop on Facebook, or do I choose to read a book to my kids, or do I choose to tell them to go away because I want to do something else, you know? And so I would encourage all of us to just frequently evaluate our desires based on what we choose to do with our time. Because I have felt in my own life that when my desires are on the best, in the good, better, best spectrum, life really is more joyous and much more fulfilling. So, okay, that's our thought for today. Shara, go ahead.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this day. We're grateful for this time that we have to meet together as a class, and we're so grateful for the great semester that we have had and that we have this week to continue to learn and to grow. We thank Thee for Brother Birch and for all that he shares with us, and we ask Thee to please bless that we'll all be able to learn this day, that we'll be able to have the Spirit to guide and direct us and to help us to do our very best. We love Thee so very much, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, so that's like the first time I've heard our semester be referenced in like the past tense. I guess it was only half past tense. You said have had. But that, man, I still can't believe that we're in week 13. Let me pull up our announcement from week 13. So here's my plan for the day. We have an exam that you guys have an exam that you're going to do over this next week. I'll go ahead and open it up for you guys on Wednesday, but I would encourage you to please not take it until you've finished up everything else in the course. Okay. As you do your assignments and things, they will help you be more prepared to take your exam. And when you see the programming assignment for the exam, it'll be a lot easier if you've done your work for this week. So don't take it. You know, if you see it opens up on Wednesday, don't take it. You have until Tuesday to take it. So please take your time and plan a good chunk of time where you can take it uninterrupted, because it's not timed, but you only have one chance to take it. So once you open it up, you got to finish it up, same as the other ones. Let's see here. So week 13, I'm just going to open up the link to our practice exam, and then end of class extra credit opportunities. So let me share my screen real quick, and you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right, so this is our announcement from week 13. So just from this morning. End of class extra credit opportunities. In addition to the spiritual discussion board extra credit we've had, providing 2 additional extra credit opportunities for the class to be completed before week 13 ends. So that's in 5 days. Okay, the end of Saturday, that's when our week ends. Both of these will have the weight of your regular assignments each week. The 2 opportunities are as follows. Complete the end of course evaluation. That's not even programming. Okay, you guys can get like a full programming assignment worth of a grade just for doing the end of course evaluation. So please do that. I love getting your guys' feedback. And then the second one is programming. Complete programming assignment number 8 from chapter 10 and email me the HTML file, or send me a message on Slack with the HTML file. Okay. We don't have a discussion board for that, so it might be a little bit tougher because you're not collaborating with your peers. It's just kind of on your own, and that's why it's extra credit. So if you're looking at your grade and you're like, man, I should have been posting on the spiritual discussion boards all semester, perhaps that's true, but this is a little bit of a chance to remedy that. Okay. So any questions on the extra credit opportunities this week? Okay. All right. Well, up in here is a link for the practice exam. Let's go ahead and follow that. So we're going to go through this, hopefully quickly, because once we finish it, we're just going to work on some of the programming exercises at the end of the chapter. Okay. So however much we can squeeze in an hour, we'll do it. So let's go ahead and open this up. All right. These first couple, there's a key. Okay, so I'll leave that to you guys, these multiple choice ones. Number 4, write the HTML tag and its attributes for creating a div, which can be used for output from JavaScript. Okay, this sounds like something from exam 1. You notice that this stuff's talking about stuff from like chapters 1 and 2 and 3. So yes, this is a cumulative exam. So the answer to number 4, let me just open up a new file here.
And Brother Birch,
yeah.
For this exam, is it like the same as other ones where we can like use our book or
yes.
Like that?
Yep, it's completely the same as the other ones.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just making a new HTML file real quick so that we can have the syntax highlighting in here. All right, so the question is HTML tag and its attributes for creating a div. So we know how to make a div, and then which can be used for output from JavaScript. So basically a div with an ID. So a good answer for this would just be div ID output, and I could make the ID anything that I wanted to. This one right here doesn't say the opening or closing tag. So if you get a question like this, I would just have both. But on your test, it'll be a little bit more specific. What does parse int do? Any thoughts, you guys?
It turns the string of text, like whatever the user puts into an integer. So like for that one, is it just whole numbers?
Yes. Parse int, an integer is a whole number. Yep. Parse float will do a decimal number, but both will convert a string data type into a number data type that you can use for comparisons or arithmetic. Number 6, given the following JavaScript code, what, if anything, will the computer output for the user to see? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at it, and then we'll actually just run it and then be positive before we do it. So x equals 3, is 3 less than y? No, that is false. So I'm going to look at these curly braces where it ends, okay, and I'm going to jump into that else statement. All right, so we're going to alert terrible. People get mixed up with these because of the nested if statements. And so it's really important to just kind of follow the brackets, be like, okay, here's where that one opens. Where does it close? It closes right here. Okay. And then the way to run that in the browser, I'm just going to copy this. These PDFs are bad. I should redo them because they have funky characters in them. But right here, I'm just going to open up a script tag and paste it. Move that. And you see these funky characters around my strings? It's like they came straight out of Microsoft Office. Okay, so I want to make them just our boring double quotes instead of our fancy English ones. And then I won't be getting those errors. You won't have that issue with your test, which is nice. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't have any errors. Okay, for my own sanity, I would probably want to tab these things over just so that I can see where everything is. So I would tab them over, and then I could just run this. It's not using any ID from the HTML, so I don't even need this in a function. This will just run when the page loads and either will alert wonderful or terrible. So I'm just going to save this and copy the path and open up a new tab and paste it. Okay. If I wanted to, the only reason why I didn't was because I knew that these characters weren't going to work out very well with JavaScript. But another really easy way to run this code is just right in the console. I open up my developer tools, click on console, I can clear this stuff out, and then I could just copy and paste this right here and run it. And you can see it executed that JavaScript the same way. Okay. All right, questions on this one? Okay. Number 7, what will the value of result be? Man, this is where I definitely use the console, okay? I don't trust myself with math ever, but let's give it a shot. So we have A is 7, B is 3, C is 11. Order of operations, I see a couple of asterisks and a modulus, all of which have the same level of precedence. So we'll take B times C, which is 33, A times C, which is 77, modulus 2. So this whole thing will be 1. 2 goes into 77 up until 76, and there's 1 left over. So that'll be 1. And then I'll just go left to right. So I have A, which is 7, plus 33, which is 40, minus 1, which is 39. Now, let's test it out, because like I said, I don't trust myself. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this whole thing. And I think that this minus sign will actually give us grief as well. So I'm just going to paste it in here first. Yeah, see that? And I'm going to put a minus on my keyboard in there. And then I'm going to copy this. Again, you won't have that problem on your test. I'm just going to open up a console and paste it, hit enter. And now if I just type in result, it'll tell me what it is. And it's 39. So we actually got it right. Okay. Questions on this one, you guys? Okay. If there was a division symbol in here, how would that fall with the level of precedence? What would we do first? Let's say this modulus instead was a division sign. What would we do first?
Is it still left to right?
Yep. The division has the same level of precedence as multiplication and modulus. And so if there are multiple, then we just do left to right with the multiplication there first. So great. Given the following JavaScript code, how many times will the computer display the word ice? Okay, let's try it and then we'll run it. So do while is our only type of loop that will execute this at least once, always, no matter what. Okay, so we'll run it while I is at 7, and then we'll increment I. So we'll alert it for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 8's my guess. I always get kind of thrown off with the plus plus I though, instead of I plus plus. So let's go ahead and run this. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to try to just put it in here. And fix those. Just from my own sanity, I'm going to move those over a little bit, and I think we're ready to go. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 times. Okay. All right. Next one. What does the JavaScript keyword break do? What do you guys think?
Like, I know what it does, but I couldn't explain it. Like, it just leaves the function. Like,
that's perfect. That's perfect.
Like,
yep. So I think the official way is it like leaves the function. or I leave
the function.
it
Yeah.
leaves generally a loop. It leaves a loop. Okay, so
Leaves a loop.
if I had a loop right here and I said, oh whoops, oh man,
9 times.
I know. That's way more than 9. Okay, I'm done with that. So if I was inside of a loop, it said while true, then we'll do this. And I said if x is equal to 50, then break. Okay, that'll just jump me out of the loop. No matter what this is, that's always going to be true no matter what, because it's true. But if x was ever 50, then we would jump out of this loop. Okay. All right, next one. Given the following function definition, obfuscate, and the following call, what value will be displayed to the user? Okay, so let's look at this. I'm going to look down here at the call first, and then we can see what data is being passed up into obfuscate. Okay, so I have y is 13, and then we're saying obfuscate 8, 2, and 13. So even though this is named y, it doesn't matter what it is named over here. The only thing that we care about down here is what values we're passing. The variable names aren't going to go through. It's just the values. So I could very easily call just obfuscate with 8, 2, and 13, because that's all that's going to be seen inside of the function obfuscate. So x is 8, y is 2, z is 13 up here. And then order of operations, we have multiplication first, and then addition and subtraction will just be left to right after the multiplication takes place. So 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26, minus 13 is 13. We assign that return value to x, and then we alert x, and I would say 13. Now, let's run it. Okay, so I'm going to copy this code. If it'll let me. Oh, there we go. All right, this one's a little trickier because we got an extra function in here. So I'm going to just paste this whole thing, take that out, fix their minus sign, move your faces. Okay, so we got function obfuscate, one line of code, and then we're going to call obfuscate. And that should work, actually, just running it like this. Okay, our function will be declared, then we declare y, call obfuscate, x will get a value, and then we alert x. So I'm going to save that and copy the path. Whoops. Copy the path and paste it. And 13. Okay. Questions on this one, you guys? Okay. Given the following declaration, we have a variable named list, which is an array. What is the value of, wow, list at index of list.length divided by 2 plus list at index of 4? Man, that's just pretty. You will never see anything like this in the professional world. At least you shouldn't. If you do, I feel bad for you. There are better ways to do this. You know, at least we would assign this to a variable. Be like, that's the middle of the array length or something. But it's okay. This is fine. So list.length, we got to figure that out first. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our length is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we're saying list at index of 3. Indices are always 0 base, so we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we have 9 plus list at index of 4, which is 7, so 16. But we could very easily test this. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and come over into here, and I'll just put this code into here. Move your faces again, and I'm going to take this out. Tab it over. Move that and take off our question mark. Okay, and then maybe I just right here, I just say like alert. Okay, because that'll make it really easy. I don't have to display it to an output div. I don't have to do anything. It'll just alert it. Okay, so let's see what we get. F5, and it says 16. Okay. Questions on this one, you guys? Okay. Number 12, desk check the following code. This I would definitely put into your text editor because then you can debug it if you run it. The console's great, but I can't debug stuff if I'm just running it straight from the console. Okay. So this one I would say anytime you're doing a desk check, put it in your text editor, save it as a file, and run it just like you do with your assignments. And then you can put a breakpoint in and just step through and just write all the numbers that pop out. So we're just going to do that real quick. So we're looking at the variables j, sum, and sum squared. Is that what that is? Sum sq. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to save it into here. All right, I'm going to make it look pretty. All this is inside of our for loop. That's inside of my if statement. I personally like to put brackets up here, but that's okay. Either is fine. Okay, so we have this, and now I would just save it and hit F5. And this is just going to run when the page loads. Wow, I already had a breakpoint there. That's fantastic. I'm going to refresh again without a breakpoint. So it'll just run when the page loads. So I don't have a breakpoint. I didn't see anything happen, but I would just put a breakpoint right here. If it's inside of a function, that's fine. Just put it on the first line inside of the function. Either way works. Okay. Once I have that breakpoint there, I'm just going to hit refresh, or if it isn't a function, push the button to call the function, and then it'll stop there. And then as I go through my desk check part in the exam, I just fill in the number 7 for j, and the number 0 for sum, and the number 0 for sum squared. And then anytime one of these changes, I'm just going to put that in. So sum would now be 1, and I put 1 on the second line under sum. And then j went up. J is going to be 8 now. And I just watch these 3 variables. Okay. And that's it. There is, we haven't really talked about this, but there is a lot of things in the debugger that I have not told you guys about. One of which is this little watch guy over here, and I could put a variable. Just now we went through a couple times in that loop, and sum squared never changed. So if I just put sum squared right there, it'll actually watch that for me, and I could just keep on hitting F10, and it'll show me. Oh, it went up to 100. See that? Okay, and so that can be really nice. But anyways, you can also do the exact same thing just by hovering over things and just watching carefully. So, okay, questions on the desk check one. Okay, next one. Write a JavaScript function named reverse list that takes one parameter named the list. The function should return a list with the elements in the opposite order of the list. For example, if the function were invoked as follows, var reversed equals reverse list, and we passed in an array, then reversed would have the value swapped. Okay. Now, this is interesting because unlike your previous exams, this is not asking me for an entire program. It's not asking me for a defining table. It is asking me for a JavaScript function. So all I would have to submit for this is just a single function named reverse list. Okay. Now, people will inevitably submit defining tables and full HTML files, and that's just fine. Though the HTML file is actually a really good way to test this to make sure that it works. But technically, all you have to submit is just the function. Okay. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. So I'm going to take this out, and we have to get this name right. Otherwise, we're going to get the question wrong. So we have function reverse list, and it takes a parameter called the list in camel case. Oops. Okay, so there's our function declaration. And then all I have to submit is just whatever is right here. Okay. Now, we have a list. How do we reverse the list? Any thoughts on how we could do that, you guys?
It might be a little jank, but you could do like a for loop with one incrementing from 0 and one de-incrementing from the length of the array.
Yeah, I like that thought. So there are some cool JavaScript ways to do this, but a very basic programming way to do this is what we're going to go with right now. So let's go ahead and make a new array. And so if we make an array, we have access to W3 schools on this exam too. And so I'm going to say W3 schools JavaScript array declaration. Now, you can't Google search like I just did on your exam, but there's a nice little search thingy right here in W3 schools. So you can search W3 schools as much as you want. All right, so I'm looking at how they're declaring arrays. Here's this example. Let's see here. I was going to see if there's if it had written here how to declare an array at a set length that you already know what it's going to be. Like that's just creating an empty array, but that is okay. So what we're going to do, reverse list. Let's go ahead and make a new array that we're going to populate with the reversed array. So I'll just say var reversed list, and we'll just make it as an empty array. And then like Samuel said, let's go ahead and loop through our other list. Now, what I'm thinking is the easiest way to do this is we loop from high index to 0. And then for each one, we insert into reversed list. Okay. And so for us to do that, we just say for I equals, and then we want to start at the top of the array. So I would say the list.length. Now, if we think about an array, let's come back over here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in here. So what is my length going to be with this array? Cher, did you just say 5?
5, yeah.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Okay, if there's 5 different things, if there's 4 commas, then the length is 5. Okay, indices are 0 base, so the highest index is going to be 1 less than that. So our index is 4 right here, but the length is 5. Okay, now, so what I'm going to do, if I say the list.length is 5 for this list, and I start looping through there, there's no index of 5. So I'm going to be out of bounds. So I'm going to say I equals the list.length minus 1. That will start me at the highest index of the list. Okay, so I have I equals the highest index in our array that we're passing in, while I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. Okay, so this will be a really nice loop that'll go from the highest index in our array to the lowest, in this case, from 4 to 0, and it'll just go down every single time. And each time we do that, we're just going to say reversed list, and we could do this 2 ways. I said not the JavaScript way, but this is technically JavaScript. We could say array.push, and we would say the list at index of I. All right, so we'll say the list at index of 4, and then I'll go down, and then we'll put in the list at index of 3. All right, but this push is only in JavaScript. And so the other way that I could do this is to say reversed list at index of I equals the list at index of I. Okay, either of those will work fine. This push is also free game. It's on W3 Schools. You can look at JavaScript array methods. Push was even on that page that we were just on. I saw as we were scrolling through. Here's pop. Push is probably right. Yep, push. Okay, and so it's definitely a good option. But here's another way that you can do it as well. Okay, so we're adding the list at index of I to reverse list at index of I every single time. Ooh, except, this actually wouldn't work. If we did this, we would end up with the exact same array, and maybe even with an error right here, because we'd be trying to add to reverse list at index of 4 before anything else was even there. And so if we wanted to stick with this, then maybe I would say var counter equals 0. And then down here, just make sure to say counter plus plus. And then we say at index of counter. Okay, because then we have the list at index of 4, we're going to put into reverse list at index of 0. And then the next one we're going to do in reverse list is index of 1. And we're going to put in, anyways, you should just use push. Okay, let's use push. Okay, so we have this. And then it says for our question that we have to return the reverse list. So I'm just going to say return reverse list. There we go. We don't need any of this anymore. Okay. And then I would just submit this guy. Now we can test to see if this works. Okay, we can do it in a couple of ways. I could just say reverse list, and then I could pass in that same array. I can't see the whole thing, but I can pass in that same array that the question in the exam is asking for. Or I could also add a button and an input down here. Okay, but just to test this simple function, I'm just gonna run it like this. Okay, so I'm gonna hit save, hit refresh. Okay, reverse list is defined as a function. I'm gonna take the breakpoint off. Actually, we need it. I'm not displaying it anywhere. So I'm just gonna hit F8 to jump to my next breakpoint, which is after all this took place. And you can see my reverse list is 39241, and this was 14293. So it looks like we did it successfully. Okay. Any questions on this one, you guys? Okay. All right, let's look at our next one. Write a JavaScript function, again, just a function called overachievers, which takes one parameter, a list named numbers, and returns the count of how many elements of the list are greater than the first element of the list. Okay, so let's try this. I'm just going to copy this function header. It will ensure that I've written the function right, or at least the function header right correctly. Okay, so we have overachievers. Thoughts on how to do this? What do you guys think? Returns the number of elements in the list greater than the first element. What do you guys think?
What I'm thinking is that, so what is it meaning by parameter in specific? Like just anything? Any parameter?
This is a parameter, okay? In our previous function, like in this case, numbers is our parameter. For
okay,
that.
So it just takes one of those. All right. So something that we could do is we need to set that one number, like, because it wants to know how many numbers are greater than the first one. So once we have that, then we just make like a for loop that goes through and sees, does it, and then just adds it up at the end.
Perfect. Does that sound good to you guys? Okay, let's give it a shot. So we have numbers. Now I can do two things. Okay, we're looking for this value, everything in numbers that is greater than this value. So I could either just keep on using numbers at index of 0, which is just fine, or I could say var number to beat, or first number, or regular achiever. We could name it anything, or we could just use this over and over and over again. Okay, I'm going to put it into a variable so that if this ever changed, I could just change this variable name, just my preference. But okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to make a for loop for I equals, let's go ahead and start at 1. Okay, we don't really care about index of 0 this time because we're checking the rest of the array to see if it's greater than index of 0. So I equals 1, while I is less than numbers.length, I plus plus. Okay, the reason why I said numbers.length right here and not like less than or equal to is because if I have 5 numbers in here, the length is going to be 5, but the highest index is going to be 4. Okay, so this will get me to the highest element in my array, and it won't take me out of bounds. So we're looping through the whole array, starting with index of 1, and now we just need a simple if statement. We say if numbers at index of I is greater than number to beat. And then maybe right here we say var count, or numbers greater, let's just say count. Okay, but this is where we're going to store the number of elements that are greater than that first element. And I'll just say count plus plus. And then we have to return that, so I'll just say return count. Test it. Okay, I'm going to make another array right here. I'll say var temp array equals, and we'll say 5, 4, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and call overachievers, and we'll pass in that array. Okay, and then this guy will return a value, so I'm just going to put that into an alert box, and we can see exactly real quick what it's going to alert. Okay, this stuff I don't need to submit. It's just for me to be able to test the function that we wrote. So I'm going to save that, hit refresh. We have a breakpoint right here. But in the meantime, I can look at numbers and see the array that we passed in. We have indices 0 through 6. We have a length of 7. And then we're looping through I equals 1. Numbers length is 7. And then it looks like the first number in here that was greater than number to beat was an index of 3. So we look at this, we have 0, 1, 2, 3. And that looks right. 6 is greater than 5, 4 and 3 are not greater than 5. And count, oh, that's going to give us an error. We should have said count equals 0. As an integer, we'd be able to increment that by 1. As it is, I'm going to hit F8. Oh, wow, what is it doing? Not a number. See that? It didn't even give us a red error. It just says not a number. So we're going to let that go. And we're just going to say if our count equals 0. I'm going to take my breakpoint off and I'll just hit refresh. And it says 4. Okay, so this count came up to 4. And we have 4 numbers here that are greater than the first one. Okay. Questions on this one, you guys? Okay, let's look at our last one. Write a JavaScript function called gravitational pull, which will calculate and return the gravitational attraction between 2 objects with the following header. Wow. Okay, let's give this a shot. I'm going to copy the function header. Come over into here. We don't need any of this anymore. Okay. And I'm just going to move this to the side real quick. Wow, so all we have to do, this looks like something from like chapter 5. Okay, all we have to do is just do this math and return F, is what it looks like. Okay, so F is the gravitational attraction that we're computing. Masses of the 2 objects for M1 and M2. S is the distance between 2 objects, which is being passed in. G is the gravitational constant. What on earth? Okay, so we don't have kg declared. Thankfully, you guys don't have anything like this. I feel like you'd have to Google. Are the masses of the 2 objects? So does that mean that Kate? Yeah, there's nothing this vague on your test. Okay, we could just Google how to compute gravitational pull. We'll just try to get as close to this as possible. Yeah, and then we can do other things that are a little bit more relevant for you guys. So if we pass in these 2 numbers, let's just say that var g, I would declare that first, is that 6.67408 times, and it says 10 to the negative 11. So I'd say math.pow 10 to the negative 11th. And let's just, for now, let's say that is g. And then we just have to do the math because we have all the other variables being passed in. And so for the numerator, I would say g times m1 times m2. Okay, that's our numerator. So I'm going to put that into parentheses, and then I'll say divided by math.pow s squared. Okay, another easy way to do s squared would be to just say s times s. Either one works. And then once we do that math, all we have to do is return that. If I wanted to assign that to f, I could. The instructions didn't say that I had to, and so I would just return this math that's taking place. Okay. Questions on this one, you guys? Okay. Well, let's look at your book and let's see some other ones that are more similar to what you're going to see on your test. Outside of that, is there anything that you guys want to look at? Or anything you guys want to talk about on our last day meeting this semester? Anything at all? Okay. Give me one sec. I just realized I haven't pulled up Slack this morning. So let me pull that up real quick. See if there are any questions there.
Do you teach other classes for BYU Idaho?
Yes. So online, as an adjunct, I only teach cit160. But I also teach on campus, and I teach a number of classes. I teach CSE 110 and 111, CSE 310, CS 246, CSE 341. And that it kind of changes from semester to semester.
Okay, this is like the only online one you teach?
Yeah, sadly.
Sad day.
It's very possible I'll
Yeah,
teach 341 online from time to time, but right now this is the only one I have online.
I was disappointed, I have to say, because I'm doing 111 next semester at CSE 111 and saw that you teach for campus students, but not for us online students.
Well, you guys, between you and me, I'm teaching 3 sections of 111 next semester. So if you guys want the Zoom invite to my, I'd be more than happy to provide that. So.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up our book real quick. Chapter 13, chapter 10, arrays. And let me share my screen. All right, let's head down to the bottom. Oh, I love arrays. These are awesome. Okay, let me pull up my text editor here, make sure I'm not sharing homework stuff with you guys. Okay, so 1 is not, oh, that's a lame one. Not that Mother's Day is lame, but that's a lame problem. So let's go to number 6. What's number 6? Write a function to rotate the elements in an array to the left. In other words, the function must move each element from its location to the location immediately to the left, and then move the first value from its location to the last, not necessarily in that order. The function must have this header. Okay, let's go ahead and do this real quick. So it's going to actually be really similar to the one we did before gravitational pull, I think, because instead of reversing the list, we're just going to rotate everything to the left. So that first value, let's go ahead and save in a variable. So I'll say var to be last variable equals list at index of 0. Okay, what is currently the first item on that list. And everything else we're just going to shift through. So there's a really easy JavaScript way to do this. I wonder if it's easy to find in here. Let's see here. Shift removes the first element from an array. So if we look at this, look at that. So this was our original array, and then after shift, this was our array. Banana's just gone, and orange is where banana was. So if we just used shift and then added this onto there, I could just say var rotated list equals list dot shift, and then rotated list, whoops, dot push to be last variable, and that should do it. Let's go ahead and just say alert rotated list, and then let's call this function. So I'll say rotate left, and let's pass in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this works, it should be 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So let's go ahead and run this. I'll hit F5. Oh, look at that. Rotate list is not defined. Oh, rotated list. Okay, let's try that again. Rotated list, rotated list. Okay. What?
At the bottom as well.
What was that?
No, rotate left. Never mind.
Okay, so I'm going to turn on a debugger for this because I'm messing up something here. So to be last variable. So that's right. The first element in the list. We have a nice list here. List.shift, what is it returning? Ooh, look at that. Okay, so it returned the value that it took out. And then list, you can see right here, it got updated. Okay, so I misused the shift function. I thought that it would return the shortened list but instead list was shortened and it returned the value that we took out. So let's go ahead and just say list.shift. And then we'll just add that onto there because it changed the array itself. I didn't need to assign that to a new variable. It's going to take that breakpoint off, hit refresh. Oh, still got an error. Now rotated list is not defined. Okay, let's alert the right variable and refresh. And there we go. 10 times the charm. Okay. Questions on that one, you guys?
Can I just look at the code for it one more time?
Yes, sorry.
No, you're good.
While you're looking at that, let's do this without list.shift. Okay. So before we made a for loop, we made a new array. So if I said var new array, and we make that an empty array, I say for equals 1, we'll start there. Y is less than list.length I++. Okay. New array, we'll just say new array dot push list at index of I, and then at the very end we'll add this same thing down here, except we'll say new array dot push to be last variable, and we'll alert that. Okay, and so the thought process going through here, we're starting at 1, so we're skipping the first value in the list, but we'll add that to our new array, except we need to add it. Oh yeah, okay, so we add it to our new array, and then at the very end, we'll just add that last variable to our new array and then alert it. So this will do the exact same thing that this did. Okay. All right, any questions before we go to our next one? Okay, let's check out our next one. Rotate the elements in an array to the right. So the exact same thing, but we're rotating to the right. So there is a function called unshift, which will do the exact opposite of shift. Okay, so we could use that, or in here we could say, let's see. So we're shifting to the right. So I'm just looking right here. So if we have this, then we add the last element to the beginning, and then we move everything to the right. And so I'll just rename this rotate right. And then let's work on this first solution first. So I'll say to be first variable is list at index of list.length -1. That is the last index in my array. So list at the last index in my array is the variable that I want to be first. And then let's just Google this. Well, W3 schools this, make sure I'm not crazy. I'm just going to search on this page. Wow, look at that. Okay. So the unshift method adds new elements to the beginning of an array. So we just threw lemon right there. That looks perfect for the to be first variable that we just did. So I would say unshift that. We can take that off. Okay, so we can try this. Let me comment that out and rename this to rotate right. And if this works out, 5 should be at the beginning. Okay, so let's run this. Refresh it. Ooh, so we were pretty close. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We just need to take this last one off. Okay, so an easy JavaScript way to do that is to just say list.pop. Again, that function is right in here. Okay, pop method removes the last element from an array. Okay, and so let's see this in action real quick. Refresh, and then we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we could do the exact same thing. The way that this is set up, we could do the same thing. Okay, just modifying this a little bit. Any questions on this, you guys? Okay, it would be helpful just to go through like this page and just familiarize yourself with some of these functions that we're pulling out. Because yes, we can do it with a for loop, But it's sure nice if it's like, wow, I know that there was a function to like take the last element off of an array, you know, and then you could just look through until you find it. All right, number 8 is your extra credit for this week. Okay, so we'll skip that. Number 9, write an HTML document with a button and a div. The onClick attribute of the button must call a function named crazy story with no arguments. The div must have an ID of output. Write these 5 functions in the head of the document, all in the same script tag. First 4 functions must each contain an array with at least 10 words. Choose noun function. Okay, do you guys want to do this? Does this sound like fun, or do you guys want to do a different one?
And so the idea for this one is going to write a story using the words, right?
True. It is going to write a story. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Okay. All right. So basically, each one of these must contain an array with 10 words of that type. So we need 10 nouns, 10 verbs, 10 adjectives, 10 adverbs, 10 integers. Hang on a sec. And when one of the 4 functions is called, the function must randomly choose one of the words in its array and return that word. Okay, the last function, choose integer, must return a pseudo-random integer between 1 and 99 inclusive. Finally, add this function to the same script tag as the other 5. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to copy this whole thing right here and show you guys a cool little trick. Okay, taking all this out and paste. Okay, I'm going to line all these up nice and pretty. And then I'm going to select the whole thing and just hit tab twice. Bumps them all over nicely where I want them. And then now that I have these selected, if I hit Control-Shift-L, it will add a cursor to the end of each line where my selection was. So I'm just going to hit End and open up a curly brace for each one of those. Okay. Now that Control-Shift-L, you guys can find all of your key bindings in here, keyboard shortcuts. I've shown you guys this before, but that Control-Shift-L is right here. Add cursor to line ends. And you could technically set that to whatever you wanted to, but that's what mine is. All right, so I have my 5 functions. Let me go ahead and add their function as well. Okay. And let's see, it looks like we need an output. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. Okay. And then we just need a button to call it. So I'll just say button, whoops, in JavaScript mode here, onClick. That's what it is. And we'll call crazy story. Okay, because if we look at this, crazy story gets called with no parameters. And then we're doing this massive string concatenation to make a story. And while we're doing the string concatenation, we're calling all these different functions that will return noun, adjectives, verbs, and so forth. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead. The first 4 functions must each contain an array with at least 10 words. And that's it, I think. When one of the 4 functions is called, the function must randomly choose one of the words in its array and return that word. Okay, so let's make some arrays. So I'm going to say top 10 nouns.
They also have random generators for all of them.
Sweet. Okay, so here's our top 10. I'll put it over into here, hit paste. Oh, good. Those are the line numbers. Okay, good. So again, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-L. I have a cursor at the end of each line, and I'm just going to hit comma, space, delete. And that's kind of ready for an array. I'm going to take this off, select that whole thing, and put that into brackets. And now that is ready for my nouns. So I'm just going to say var nouns equals that. Okay. Let's do the same thing with verbs. Ooh, I wonder if I could just change that to verbs. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, sweet. Copy that. Come over to here in my temp file, paste it, Control-A, Control-Shift-L to make a cursor at the end of each line, comma, space, delete, end of the line, backspace, backspace, select all of it, and opening square bracket. Okay, grab that whole thing and put it into verbs. Var verbs equals that. Ooh, look at that. Do while. Do is a reserved keyword. So let's grab the 11th. We have come. I don't think that's reserved in JavaScript. That's better. Okay, adjectives. Let's test our luck here. Adjectives. Oh man, this is awesome. This is awesome. Okay, copying that. Coming over into here, same thing. Backspace. Adjectives. Okay. Adverb. Oh, new. Another keyword. Okay, let's grab our 11th. We have right. So we'll say right. Okay, and
So I have a question while you're doing this. So what happens if you need to use the word do? Like for something like this. Is there a thing that we can add beforehand to like unmake it? Like this isn't what we're not trying to make it what it needs to be. Like we just want to use do.
nope, it is always reserved.
Always.
Yep. If you wanted, you could, I mean, we could have said something like do, a capital D.
And that would work.
Yeah, that
But
would work.
that's
Yeah.
but the lowercase it's just like you can't touch it.
Yep. I just realized a huge issue with all of this. So hang on a sec. Adverb. These are all variable names. None of them are going to be declared. They all need to be in strings. So hotkeys again. Control D will select the next instance of a string. Right now I have selected a comma. So I'm going to hold Control D for a sec and select all of those. Okay, now I'm going to just say left arrow, Control Shift, left arrow, and that'll select 90% of what I have here. And I'm just going to put those into quotation marks. And then end line to each of those, left, left, Control Shift, left arrow, quote. Okay, now they're in strings and they're ready to rock.
And I mean, you could use do in a string, couldn't you? Like,
Yes.
or no? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's change it. Was that an adverb?
I think
No,
that was
Verb.
What is a verb?
a verb.
Yeah.
I knew that, guys. I know what do is. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we can totally use that in a string. So we got those all set up. Choose integer. So we need a random number from 1 to 100. So let's see here. We could easily Google how to get a random number. And I think we even did it at one point in our book. So if you had enough time, you could look through your book and figure out how to do that if you had it on a test. But we do have math dot, thank you, text editor, random. Okay. Now math.random will return a number less than 1 and greater than 0 with a lot of decimal places. Okay. So it'll be a nice random number between 0 and 1. So to get that between 1 and 100, we should just be able to say times 100. Now, I know there's a better way to do this, but I think that'll work for us. Okay, let's Google it real quick. So JavaScript, random number in range. Generating random whole numbers. Because I think some of the time what I just did will be out of a range. So this says min and max, math.random times max minus min. So 100 minus 1 plus 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And then our max is 100, and then our min is 1. Okay, and that'll give us a nice random number in that range. Okay, let's look back at our assignment. So I think we got all those. Is that all we have to do? I don't think that'll work because nowhere is it calling choose integer. Right? I guess it calls it once. Oh, but for this to choose a random number, so maybe what we could do, I'm going to deviate a little bit here, and I'm going to say function choose random word. Okay, and what we're going to do here, I realize we're over time. I don't have a class for 14 minutes, but if anyone needs to leave, you can. We're going to finish this up real quick though. So I'm gonna do this because if I don't make another function for this, then I'll have to repeat it 4 times in the different functions. So I'm gonna make another function, and for each one of these, I'll just say return nouns at index of function call. I'll say choose random word. Now, we could put in a min and max right here as parameters and do basically the exact same thing we're doing right here. For the sake of this assignment, it's pretty, it says what function header I need to have here. And so to follow those instructions, I would leave that function the way it is. And then right here, maybe I put a min and a max right here. Okay, and I would just copy this whole thing, paste it. Here we have max, here we have min. So it's the exact same thing. If I passed in min and max here, it would have worked great, but those weren't in the instructions. And then right in here, when I call choose random word, I'm just going to pass in 0 to 9, I guess, would be the best way to do it, because those are the indices that are valid right here. Because right here, I'm saying nouns at index of, and I want to return a number from 0 to 9. Okay, because these are the indices we have for our 10 words. Okay, so I'm going to call that, we'll return that, and I'm just going to copy, whoops, I'm going to copy this line of code and hold control and click a couple of times and paste those. And then I just want to copy the function name of each of these. Paste it there. Okay, so for our choose verb function, we have the verbs array. We call choose verb, pass in our numbers that are valid. Same thing with each one of these. Choose integer is only going to be used once right here. And then choose random word. Oh, I just realized I needed to make all of these choose random word. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. All right, let's run this with a debugger. F5.
Do you need to change they're all saying nouns. Do you need to change them to choose verb or adjective verbs?
Yeah, so it was wrong a second ago. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, we do. So
The variable, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna paste that. Good catch. Yeah, that would have given us a big old undefined error because nouns is only declared inside of this function. Good catch. Okay, let's come over here. And I'm going to put a breakpoint inside of each one of these just as we watch this for the first second. I'm going to press our button. The button called Crazy Story. And we're in Crazy Story. And we say let story equals, and then we're going to start our massive string concatenation. If I hit F10, you can see we ended up in choose verb. Now this won't walk through like with F10. It won't just like step down, because technically it's all one line of code. Even though we put it on different lines, it's all the same statement. Okay, I couldn't put a semicolon right here and then a plus. It's all one statement. And so it's just going to go through. Now we're in choose verb. Okay, and we have verbs declared right there. And then we're going to call choose random word. Okay, ooh, what's our error? Nouns is not defined.
Did you save after you made that change?
Must not have. Let's hit refresh. There we go. Okay, let's hit our button again. Okay, F10, F10. So we have our verbs. Going to choose random word, min max 0 to 9. If this works, we should get a number from 0 to 9 every time. Okay, that's not going to work out very well. I doubt that JavaScript will round this by itself. So let's go ahead and add a math.round around this whole thing. So let's come back into here and I'll say math.round. If I don't pass in anything as a second parameter here, then it'll just round it to a whole number. So I'm gonna hit F5, hit our button, F10 a couple of times. So we still haven't returned anything from choose verb. We're finding our random number in here. And I'm just going to select this whole thing to see what number we get. 5, good. I'm going to do it again just to test it. 6, good. Do it again. 4, okay, it looks like it's working. Okay, and we return that. And I don't know what it returned. I didn't stop there, but it's going through and it'll do the same thing. We did choose adverb, we declare adverbs. Okay, and then we'll choose a random word in there. And the first time that I do this, whoops, it renders it at 3. Okay, but every time I highlight this, it'll recall these functions. Okay, and so the random word that it returns will be different. Okay, and it'll just keep on going. I'm going to take these breakpoints off and hit F8. And there's our story. The man comes knowing a horse. The horse is also old and has no person. The saddle is first and the stirrups don't match. His clothing is strange. He wears 2.3 hats and a first shirt. One man of his pants is torn off to the knee. His sword is little and has a broken hilt and knows from the bottom of the way. Okay, there you have it, guys. We could probably round this. It's hard to have that number of hats. Okay. Any questions on this? That was kind of fun. Any questions?
No, that was good. Reminded me of the Mad Libs.
Yeah, from 124. Totally.
Okay, I do have one question.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe so with the choose random word and then min and max, how does it know what is the min and what is the max? Did we?
Yeah. So if I was gonna dumb this down a little bit, basically all I'm doing is I have a function right here, and I call this function with 2 parameters, and I'm passing in 0 for min and 9 for max, and they'll just go into these variables.
Okay, I forgot we put those there. Thank you.
Okay. No, there's a lot here, and we went pretty fast too, and so it's totally cool. Okay, any other questions, you guys? Okay, well, this was fun. Good luck this week studying for your exams. If you have any questions, or if you want to see anything else, if you try out one of those other programming exercises from the book and you can't figure it out, there's a few more in here. 12 Days of Christmas is fun. This one is super applicable. We probably should have done this one, both of these last two. But anyways, if you end up trying something, or if you want to see the code for one, I have all of them written, and I'd be happy to share that or help you out. But yeah, just make sure to do all of your work for week 13 before you take your exam, and then happy trails. Find me on LinkedIn or something, or just keep me posted on how things go for you guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, you guys. It's my pleasure.
Bye.
Okay, have a good one, everyone. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. You're welcome, Rachel.